What's going on, everybody? This is Jeff with AltCoin Buzz. So today we are going to address Bitcoin and governments, or cryptocurrency and governments. We're going to have to go into this because this is a subject that just cannot go under the radar. We can't turn a blind eye to this. So we're going to address it and confront it head on and take a look at some of the thoughts and perspectives on this. Number one, the first thing I'm going to point to is Twitter. John McAfee. All right, let me refresh this. We've had a lot of activity on Twitter last 12 hours, 24 hours to say the least. Here's John McAfee. Everyone relax. The crypto dip was caused by Mike Bell of JP Morgan claiming governments could ban cryptocurrencies. Well, how? This is the same company that called BTC a fraud. It's a bank, FFS. I want to say that's an acronym for something spicy. They are rightfully terrified of what we are doing, but it can't be stopped. So if we just type in Mike Bell from JP Morgan here, you can use Twitter as a news source, right? So he basically said he said the big risk is governments could ban cryptocurrencies. This is an executive at JP Morgan. This is something that we all know lingers always. It's been a threat to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for as long as I can remember. And I always flash back to the September flood that happened with China, where basically there was mass pandemonium back in September because of the same thing. And China just never seems to want to go away in their pursuit of trying to FUD the market. So let's take a look at some important aspects to consider when reviewing this. Here's an article by Investopedia, right? Countries where Bitcoin is legal and illegal, right? So we need to know about this. So in the United States, Investopedia says the United States has taken a generally positive approach towards Bitcoin. At the same time, it has several government agencies working on preventing or reducing the use of Bitcoin for illegal transactions. So the United States government is looking to allow cryptocurrency, but they're also identifying that there's an issue with illegal crime organizations using Bitcoin. I mean, the crazy thing about it is, governments could use Bitcoin to pay the Taliban off for something, or another government could make a transaction that goes under the radar in Dash or Monero, right? A privacy coin. You'll never know, right? So it's kind of interesting. Not just regular humans, or not just regular people could use cryptocurrency for illegal activity, but even governments. I'm not just saying the United States, but any government really. So that's kind of one interesting aspect. Like its southern neighbor, the United States, Canada maintains a generally Bitcoin-friendly stance, while also ensuring the cryptocurrency is not used for money laundering. Bitcoin is viewed as a commodity by the Canada Revenue Agency. Australia allows entities to trade, mine, or buy Bitcoin. So, for the most part, Western countries are friendly towards Bitcoin. You have the European Union, which is a whole conglomeration of nations in the West, and then you have Finland, which is outside of the European Union, so is the UK. Countries that say no to Bitcoin. So Vietnam, Bolivia, Kyrgyzstan, Ecuador, Russia, China. So here's another article that we can examine. So a dozen countries are experimenting with bans. So here's a little bit wider review from Bitcoin.com, right? For South American countries such as Brazil, Bolivia, and Ecuador, the challenges are both political and economic when it comes to prohibition. Each has versions of command economies, and nationalist fervor is easily whipped up when supposed threats are made against their respective currencies. And Bitcoin can certainly represent that. However, even where economic expression is limited and politics are a crazy mix of bureaus and committees, crypto has found a way through. Its popularity grows in Latin America. The remaining half, from China to Nepal, have almost no tradition of what anyone would call democracy, though in some cases governments have pulled back and allowed their populace more expressions in personal economic matters. So China pretends like they want to be, global leaders in human rights and opportunity and democracy, but really at the end of the day, they're still very oppressive. We all know about the Great Firewall of China, where Google and Facebook and many other many other internet entities can't even get into the nation of China for the people to consume media or information outside of what the Chinese government wants them to hear. So you can see this article here written on January 16, 2018 on Bitcoin.com. So you have this also. Bitcoin. So you have Bitcoin latest. What regulation South Korea is planning and why it is hurting cryptocurrency's price. So we've got this coming up again. Yesterday we mentioned the annual sell-off that has happened historically with cryptocurrency with the Lunar New Year, also known as the Chinese New Year. You know, it's if there is a historical trend, it's like what happened with Christmas this year. You can remember next year that when Christmas comes around, there's more than likely going to be a sell-off because of what happened last year. And the reason I know about this is having worked in tech now for 6 years. Just having worked in tech, I know that every Christmas, things right before Christmas, it's very powerful and very strong. Then around about December 22nd till about January 2nd or 3rd, things just kind of get really not so friendly towards business. But from Black Friday towards about December 22nd, things really pick up. And we saw that in the cryptocurrency market, which is funny because I also see that in the general technology sector, especially in media and whatnot. So I'm just putting that out there for you guys to be aware of the fact that, yes, if someone identifies that a holiday, the sell-off typically happens, in this case it would be the Lunar New Year, affecting the Asian markets, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, Korea, Vietnam. Well, Vietnam doesn't participate in the market, neither does China, but you can see how that region where people, they do offshore stuff. If you don't know what offshore is, it's basically, like Singapore is basically an extension of the Chinese. The official language, I believe, there is Mandarin, okay? Japan, they speak Japanese. Korea, they speak Korean. But the point is that you can see how holidays in respective regions could affect it, and especially being that a lot of the money that comes into the market comes in through Asia. It was coming in through the Korean won, and it was coming in through the Japanese yen. But you can't turn a blind eye to it, and if you turn a blind eye to it, that would be a fool's play. So you can't deny the truth. To deny the truth is not the wisest thing to do. It'll never be the wisest thing to do. And so when someone suggests that historically there's a sell-off for the Lunar New Year, to get all bent out of shape about it and deny it doesn't make sense to me. And I say that because believe it or not, there's people in the audience and in the crowd who want to scoff it off as FUD or incorrect or not true. Regardless of the timing of when it happens, it's still at play. And it typically happens around January, February. So you have this article here about South Korea. It's definitely affecting the price, and it has continued to affect the price because the Koreans, what I think could be possible is there could be some Chinese money coming through the Korean won, because Korea is a wealthy nation, but it's not that wealthy. But when you see massive injections of money coming in through Korea, I would not be surprised if some of that is Chinese money being masked by the Korean won. That's just my assumption, though. So if we dive in here and we look at
interesting technology behind it, i.e. blockchain.
So this is on express.co.uk. Bitcoin price warning. It's a huge risk. Governments could ban cryptocurrencies. So you can see this. This is what they were talking about with Mike Bell, and you can get this online if you want to see the interview. It's right here. I'm not going to play it, but you get the idea. So overall, there's a lot of things to keep in mind about this market. Another thing that's kind of come up lately, because of the China extended crackdown, there is some information, there is some FUD now being created with KuCoin. And I want to put this out there because this is coming out of nowhere on us. Let me see if it appears KuCoin is having withdrawal issues, but there's even something more extensive than just the KuCoin review. These guys are supposedly operating out of Sichuan, and I want to say it's in, I think that's next to Hong Kong. I know Guangzhou is next to Hong Kong, which is mainland China, and I think the place that they're operating out of, let's see here. We have postponed datum trading promotion. We will update the starting date within 24 hours. Apologize for the convenience caused. So there was an article that was written on Modem that was saying that because KuCoin is actually headquartered out of Sichuan, that the Chinese government crackdown could have an impact on the KuCoin exchange. I have personally I have positions on KuCoin, so I'm right there in the boat with you guys. If this is just something that's coming up, like I say many times, be flexible. If you're not willing to be flexible and accept the fact that things can change, it's like saying, you could be going down the road and you could get a flat tire. You can complain about it and say, well, this isn't fair, or you could say, well, I got to fix my tire, so I got to call the guy up to get my tire fixed. It's just these kind of things happening. You got to be flexible and willing to accept it as it comes. We hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst. And so I'm putting this out there not to spread FUD, but to suggest that there is some information that KuCoin is operating from inside of China, and even though they have I believe a Hong Kong mailing address, they're still headquartered out of China, which is an issue. And that if Chinese government rolls out an extended layer of sanctions, so to speak, or bans on cryptocurrency, then KuCoin could really be having funds on KuCoin could be an issue. So I'm just putting that out there, something to keep your eye on. This is just coming up. It's brand new. I'm not even finding news about this on here, and I'm hoping for the best, but I'm preparing for, if something does happen, does that mean that I need to put my funds into a wallet? So if I have UTrust on there and I can only get UTrust on KuCoin, do I need to move my UTrust to a UTrust wallet? It's just something to consider if you're keeping coins on KuCoin. So anyways, guys, this is just a brief overview of government's interactions and involvements in cryptocurrency, and something that we should all take heed of and bear in mind. It's not going to go away anytime soon, this government stuff. And when the government spread FUD or the government drama comes up on the radar, typically because of it causing issues for the government, whether it being as a threat to their society or whether it being a threat to banks and banks putting pressure on the government. It's just a multitude of different things to consider. So we'll see you guys next time.